friends, it's Teresa and welcome back to my channel. Today is another vlog. Thought I'd kick it off with a book haul that I've said I was gonna do for the past like 2 freaking weeks. As of right now, it is Sunday, May 16th. I just got home from church. I'm about to eat a donut. As if that's relevant. I thought I'd just start this off with an update as to what I'm reading because I haven't done a good job of it, as well as the book haul that I said I was gonna do. So let's start off with the book that I'm currently reading, and that is Arsenic in Adobo by Mia B. Manansala. This is an adult contemporary novel, like a rom-com contemporary thriller. It's a weird mix, I'm aware. Follows young Lila who moves back home, kind of like at the last leg of her college situation. Career, to help with her family's restaurant after she breaks up with her fiance because he was cheating on her. During this time, she runs into another ex, her high school sweetheart, who she kind of hates at the current moment. And as he's eating their food, he ends up dropping dead on the floor. Because they don't really have any other suspects, she is currently the only suspect. And because she knows she didn't do it, she takes matters into her own hands and tries to figure out who exactly killed her ex-boyfriend. And apparently, the list is long. I am on chapter 28, which is about 192 pages in. I will do a proper update on what is going on once I'm done with this haul, because I realized I haven't done a proper update at all, which is weird because normally every vlog I'm like updating every 5 minutes, but for some reason recently I think I'm just used to like wrapping books up that I don't know how to vlog anymore, which is very upsetting because vlogs are my bread and butter. The next book that I ended up buying, which is why my wallet does not like me this month, is Something in Between by Melissa De La Cruz. This is a YA contemporary novel following young Jasmine, who's done everything correctly. She's gotten the good grade, she's accepted into Harvard. That is until one day she applies for a scholarship, and this dredges up the fact that her parents are currently undocumented. Now, with the threat of deportation around the corner, she tries to do everything in her high school career that she hasn't done so far. And then one day she runs into like this congresswoman's like young son, and finds out that she needs to kind of figure out exactly what she wants out of this life, and it's not just catching up on the things that she has missed out on thus far. Super excited to read, so I think this is gonna be my next read because I'm in a weird contemporary mood, and then we'll just kind of move on from there. Hopefully in the next 2 weeks I'll be able to finish my TBR. The next book that I bought is The Farm by Joanne Ramos. This is an adult medical dystopian following this young immigrant woman named Jane. She's a single mother and is pregnant, I think, with her second child. She ends up signing up for The Farm, which is this society, I guess, that lets pregnant women stay with them for 9 months and, you know, continue the duration of their pregnancy throughout these 9 months. And at the end of the 9 months, once they have given birth, they are given kind of a prize. Now, as Jane stays in the farm for these 9 months, she's starting to miss her old life in society. However, she doesn't want to lose out on what the prize is, but also feels like there's larger consequences at play if she tries to reach out to her family outside of the farm. I said this 1,000 times, but my friend recommended this to me like crazy. Kind of weird that I didn't get the hardcover version, and sad, but like I'm not complaining because like this also I feel like has a better way of kind of illustrates the farm a little bit better. Unfortunately, while I was driving away, my water bottle fell over, and I thought I caught it in time, but I did not. So there's a bit, I don't know if you can see it. There's a bit of water damage there, which is very unfortunate, but what can you do? The next one is the last book for my APM on TBR, and that is The Bone Witch by Rant. Look at this cover for one. Like, I've been meaning to get this book because this cover is freaking gorgeous. But this is a YA high fantasy novel following Tia. The audiobook's a Tia, pero Kate said it's pronounced Tia, so I'm gonna go with Tia. But this follows young Tia, who is different from the other witches in her family. She hasn't been able to find her power just quite yet. That is until one day she finds out that she's a bone witch, which is basically a necromancer. Now that she's ostracized from her community because of this power, she finds the other bone witch to train her, and now she's kind of like putting her all into this training. She is now forced to make a choice that she's not necessarily sure if she's ready for. I'm super excited. Rant is an amazing author. I've heard great things from my friends, and I'm super excited to read this and see exactly what happens. Like, the cover is gorgeous, so I can't really say if it's gonna be bad or not, but like I haven't heard, like, so I'm just gonna trust that I will like it because I think mine and Kate, who also recommended this to me, our reading tastes are fairly similar-ish, so we should be good. Should be good. The next two are ones that are not on my TBR, but I picked up because I found them at my secondhand bookstore. But that one is Last Night at the Telegraph Club by Melinda Lowe. I don't know a ton about this. I do know it is historical fiction set in San Francisco in the 1954, including the kind of the Red Scare. So it's not only like, you know, two girls can't fall in love, but to boot, one of the girls is Chinese American, which unfortunately communism also involved the Chinese at the time. So super excited. This cover is so cute, and like look at kind of like the couple in this corner here. I'm excited to read this. I'll probably read this next month. It is Pride Month, and I probably will also be joining in the Queer Lit Readathon, which I've been meaning to rejoin since I did the first 2 rounds, but you know, things happen. I got sick when I was reading through the second round, so guess I didn't get to vlog this girl. But hopefully this time will be different, and yeah, super excited for this one. I feel like I'm gonna cry, which I'm not ready for, but also I cry at a lot of things, so I should be ready for that. And the last book is actually, I think, a new release. I thought it came out in 2021, but that's neither here nor there. But this is These Violet Delights by Chloe Gong. This is a YA historical fiction retelling of Romeo and Juliet set in 1920 Shanghai, where these two different gangs are coming together, are hitting ahead, and what do you know, the two heirs to the said gangs are falling in love. I've heard such good things about this, and like I said, I got it in my secondhand bookstore, which is like a steal. So super stoked to have this book in my hands and read it. When I will read it, I'm not entirely sure. Sometime soon. But that is it for the books on my TBR, or that I purchased recently. Now, I'm gonna drink some water because this was a lot of words. It's already 8 minutes long, but time for the update. Like I said, I'm like 192 pages in. I like it so far. Like I said, it's a very addicting read. However, my problem with a lot of contemporaries that I read, especially set in the modern day, is that I'll breeze right through it, and then in my attempt to savor as much of the writing as possible, I don't read a lot, but in the span that I do read it, I read a lot, if that makes sense. Like, I don't read frequently, but in the times that I do read, I read a lot of it because I breeze right through. Which is why I haven't really updated you guys, but I enjoy it. The writing is very easy to get into. It is a contemporary, so it's just very easy to swallow. Lila is a very relatable kind of character. She is, I believe, the only child of her parents who have passed away. She is, I think, she has a lot of potential to be great, but you know, family and her own personal problems that kind of have kept her from doing that. There are quite a bit of potential romances in here, which I'm not entirely sure how they're developing right now. She's mentioned she has a crush on her lawyer, who is actually a family friend of hers because her best friend is his younger sister. Then she also has a crush on this dentist who happens to be the younger brother. Yeah, the younger brother of the detective who is currently investigating her. So it's a bit messy, and I don't really know how to feel about it. And nor do I know how it's gonna pan out, because like in this short span that's left of the book, I hope that maybe this won't extend this won't like try to rush it, but I do know this is the first in a series, so hopefully that the actual romance of it, the romance portion of it, will expand a little bit more in the coming books, though I do not know if Lila will be continuing to be our main protagonist. I love the characters. I think they're all very relatable. They're all very human in their own way. I think that they're very easy to swallow and to digest, and their motives and values they're pretty understandable. You don't have to kind of wrap your head around it or figure out what's going on. As for the mystery, things are unraveled about the same way that a mystery typically does. You think you have your person, and you find out that they're not your person, or you find clues that lead to dead ends, which I really enjoy just because a lot of it makes sense for the context that is currently happening. Like, who the frick kills someone randomly using arsenic? Like, because arsenic is a pretty slow acting thing unless you give them a lot of it. So don't ask how I know this, I just do. As for the actual culture bit, I love it. I love the fact that a lot of the culture that is shown in this book is shown through the food. It just shows a lot of like how Filipinos are, that we like discuss things through food. Our love language is like giving people food and baking things, which like makes a lot of sense considering like I don't cook a lot. I don't, but like when I do, I have the tendency to cook for other people or to share it or create it with other people in mind. Same thing with my family. And then I like the fact that a lot of the Tagalog in this book is not italicized. I know there's a lot of discourse around going about how like you shouldn't italicize words in different languages, at least in contemporary settings, because it sets it apart from the rest. And it's in situations like this one, it shouldn't be set apart from the rest because it's part of the culture, it's part of the norm. So it should be more normalized, like how it should be in English, which I really enjoy. As for who I think has done it so far, I'm not entirely sure. I have an idea that it could be Mr. Long, who is Derek, the one who died, his stepfather. They didn't seem to get along so much, and he was at the scene of the crime when it happened, and he was around the food that he ate when it happened. So it makes a lot of sense that he would have had the opportunity to insert some arsenic in there, and as well as in their personal life, he probably would have had the chance to insert that stuff. My throwaway one is Detective Park, who is the detective investigating Lila. It's a bit of a far-fetched here. However, my reason for that is that he wants to like definitely pin this murder on Lila. He doesn't have a lot of evidence. There's no evidence at all. He thinks that she, like, aside from the things that were planted in her locker, but he thinks that she's like some drug kingpin or whatever that tried to kill him because they had a vendetta against each other and all that stuff. I think it's him because he's trying really hard to pin this on her without a lot of concrete evidence. So that's who my bet is. But then also he seems to be really soft with Tita Rosie, the one who owns the restaurant. So it's just a little bit of a toss-up. But that is my current guesses right now. I'll probably finish this. If I get the chance to read tonight, probably tonight. And then after that, I'll probably start something in between, and we'll go from there. But right now, it's sitting at like a 4.5 stars. Like I said, it's a very addicting read, but I think that there could be a little bit more done in terms of the actual mystery aspect. I feel like the mystery aspect, while I don't know, I can't guess who it is and who did it and why they did it, it still feels a little bit kind of lackluster for me. So unless something happens toward these like last couple hundred pages, which there's something's definitely gonna happen, I probably will just stick it with a 4.5 because wonderful prose, amazing characters. I love seeing the culture of the Philippines and the Filipinos in this. Also, bonus points for Lunganisa, the wiener dog. But like I said, it just feels like there's something kind of missing with the story, and I'm not entirely sure what it is. So I'll let you guys know when I finish and update you guys as I continue reading when I get a chance to read. Right now I have to do my thumbnail for my vlog that's coming out tomorrow, and then my CC for that video and yesterday's video. So I'll let you guys know when I get a chance to read tonight. But yeah, and then I have to plan videos for tomorrow and my week for tomorrow. Sundays and Mondays are kind of my awkwardly busy and hectic days. I can't tell you why, they just are. If my mommy watches this vlog, I'm sorry for my hair. It's like just almost before bedtime. It is how it is. But I'm reading more of Arsenic and Adobo. And my same complaint is it's not a complaint, but just something that I've noticed is that the romance is still not very, like, it's not going anywhere. It seems like she's moving past Amir, who is the lawyer slash her best friend's older brother, and onto Dr. J, who is the dentist slash the detective's younger brother. Lots of brothers here. Like, Jay meets her dog, and she's like, "Oh, be still my heart." And then Amir comes along, and it gets awkward because he brought Lila her favorite... Because Jay brought Lila her favorite flowers, and I'm just sitting here like, so who is the candidate? Who should I be rooting for? Because I don't know. but I'm gonna keep reading, and there's a high chance that if I don't finish this today, I'm gonna finish it tomorrow on my lunch break, and in which case I will probably be starting something in between. So, because it's getting late and I don't know how much I can update because I'm gonna fall asleep soon. So I'll catch y'all tomorrow. Hey friends, it's Therese and welcome. Well, I already started the vlog. Hey friends, it's Monday. Clearly. I just got done filming my video for this, my one creative video for this week. It is Who Did It Better? Who Did Mal Better? Book or show. But before I hop into the shower, because it is kind of toasty and warm, and it's not like long because it's a pretty see-through shirt, but like, you know, it's still warm. Thought I'd wrap up my thoughts on Arsenic and Adobo by Mia P. Manzala. I finished this during my lunch break. I thought I was gonna have a little, like literally right as 2 p.m. hit, I was done, which is when my lunch break ends. I really enjoyed it. I ended up giving it a 4.5 out of 5 stars. I really enjoyed the culture aspect that was shown here, the kind of feel that you get when you do live in a small town, and the loyalty that you have to your family. I really like that aspect because that is kind of a lot of, just quite a bit of like Filipinos with their loyalty to their family. The one thing that I will say that kind of dinged it the half star was that the ending felt a little too, like, the twist was there, but not in the way that it was built up properly. I think that the twist was appropriate and it made sense. However, the hints to twist up, to lead up to the build weren't as strong as I would have liked. Like, genuinely, I was shocked when it happened, and I was just kind of like, I understand the shock. I get the shock. I respect the shock. However, I read this book, so despite my initial shock, there shouldn't be that much shock or confusion as to exactly what happened. So I feel like that in that point, the build up to the situation could have been dealt with a little better. However, I do want to say that this is not like a strict thriller. It's not. It's not like Gone Girl or Girl on the Train or Dark Places or Sharp Objects. Its core is not a strong thriller. This is more like a rom-com kind of thriller, so it is a bit silly, and it made sense that the twist and the build-up were there but not as prominent, but I would have preferred it to be a little bit more prominent considering that this was what we're leading up to. And to boot, I feel like the ending was just tied up in too much of a cute little bow. There wasn't a lot of, like, Lila didn't want to stay where her family was. She wanted to go back to Chicago and open up a place there, but her best friend Adina wanted to open up a place here in their hometown, and Lila was just not having it. I'm also confused because, like, it was introduced a little later as to how her name was supposed to be pronounced. Her grandma pronounces it Lila, but it was never mentioned in the first chunk of the book until recently, and I've been saying it Lila this entire time, so now I'm having a hard time breaking the habit. So I would have wanted a bit more of her thought process as to like why she wanted to stay, or why she just suddenly decided to stay inside the town she felt like she was suffocating in. But then I really enjoyed it. I already read the little excerpt for the second book, and I'm really excited to see where that goes and when that comes out. I think that like this is a pretty solid debut, despite my misgivings. My what I found were not it for me. But like I said, I didn't really like I gave it some slack because it's not a hard thriller. It's a pretty like kind of rom-com-y thriller, so I'm not too upset by how the story played out, but would have liked it to be a little bit stronger. Hopefully in the second book that build-up does happen in a way that makes a little bit more sense and plays out a little better. But not complaining as of right now. Would I recommend? Yes. Yes. And I will be trying the recipes that are in the back, specifically the ube crinkles, because like I'm a slut for ube and crinkles. But I'll update you guys when I get started on another book. I'll probably be starting something in between tonight. I think right now I'm gonna go ahead and like relax and write, because like I don't have to do CC for my video. I'm cooking dinner tonight, but it should be a pretty easy dinner to cook, so like shouldn't be terrible time for me, but that is what I'm going to do. And I'm so excited for it. I might also get started on my other bullet journal and probably make plans for my shadow box, which I need to start doing, and probably my journal with me that should be coming up soon-ish, which is about Mugen Train. I have to, Mugen Train. I'm so excited, but not excited to relive that pain. But I'll catch up with you guys in a little bit. Hey everyone, it's Tuesday. Whew. Just updating the vlog before I can't win here. Before I head over to work. I'm running a little bit late, but I feel like my late always means I'm like there 5 minutes before. So not as late as I'd like. But I did end up reading a little bit last night of Something in Between by Melissa De La Cruz. So far it's just kind of setting up. I'm like only at the first chapter in, so there's not a lot happening. She's very much like talking about how she's like the cheerleader, national scholarship, club president, whatever, all that stuff. And she just received the scholarship while she was at practice. So that's about it. So far I like it a little bit. We get to see a bit of her character and personality. Her best friend already kind of stands out, and I like that she's also BIPOC. And I like that she touches on the fact her friend is Mexican, but she's 5th generation, so she doesn't know Spanish. She learned it in class, which is which I like that little bit of a touch, just to be like, you know, not everyone from a BIPOC nation is gonna speak their native tongue, especially when they're 5th generation. But I'm gonna head to work now, and I'll update you guys when I read some more after work. Yeah, I have a couple errands to run because I'm out of makeup wipes, and I want to try some gel nail stickers because I have really flat nail beds on my index finger, so everything always pops off super quickly when I use press-ons. So we'll see how gel nail stickers start. And then I'm heading over to my boyfriend's today, just to chill out. He's moving to a different apartment. He and his roommates live in a house right now, but they're moving to an apartment come the end of the week, so should be a fun time. Don't know if we're gonna play Resident Evil. I would like to, but don't know if we will. Hey everyone, update before I head over to my boyfriend's. Apologize for the hair. She is settling. But also, look at how some of these curls are coming out. Don't touch it, Therese. What was I gonna say? I did get a chance to read quite a chunk of Something in Between. I'm kind of out of breath. I don't know why. Right now, my biggest critique is that at the beginning of every chapter, there's a quote relating to being like an immigrant or like the American dream, all that stuff. And it bugs me that some of the quotes pertaining to immigrants are from white men. I'm not saying that white men can't be immigrants, however, it was like George Washington, Lyndon B. Johnson. And I was like, what? No one invited you to the party. No one. Shoo-shoo. Shoo-shoo-shoo-shoo. Oh, another critique I have is that I sent this to my sister, but there was a comment about how like underweight for my height and age, which is very unhealthy for me. Oh, trigger warning for talking about weight. Her mom wanted her to eat more, and Jasmine was like, yeah, like fat, it's not bad to be fat in the Philippines, I guess because it's a third world country, and you know, some people are skinny, so it's not bad to be fat. And I was sitting here like, said who? But I'm painfully skinny. Anyone can see it. Not something I'm super proud of, though people say I should be. My metabolism works a lot faster than it should. I've also been painfully underweight, which could potentially lead to a lot of health issues. The minute I start to gain weight or lose weight, it's the first thing my family notices. It's the first thing my family notices about my sister, who is like, we're like, as of right now, we're about the same weight, which is like 105-ish. I'm probably just 100, but she's 105, and she's like 5 feet flat. Her chest is a little broader than mine, so she's gonna hold her weight quite differently than how I do. And literally, people get on her case for it. Like, she's even working out, so most of that's like what is developing is muscle. So I was sitting here like, I don't know if like Melissa De La Cruz had a very healthy family that didn't discuss weight and saw weight gain as a good thing. But that comment was not it. Alright, I'm gonna head over to my boyfriend because I can see he's texting me. And I can also see that he's sending me Snapchats. So, I will talk to y'all later. It is now Wednesday, 5. I'm about to head home. I have dinner with my family, so I'm gonna take a quick nap before I head over around 6. But I'm gonna preface this bit because either later tonight when I'm home from dinner or before I head to dinner, I will be ranting about a book that I'm reading. The only book that I am reading. Alrighty, it is Thursday morning. I forgot to update you guys on what I'm ranting about last night, but my boyfriend ended up making a surprise appearance to dinner with my family, so I was a lot busier / I was entertaining more than I was actually like reading and doing anything else I was gonna do. Basically, a lot of the takes that are in this book are kind of wild to me. Like, I talked about the weight comment. Then she was talking about she was wearing like a yellow dress, and she's like, I'm dark for a Filipino. I'm not brown like my dad. And I'm like, Filipinos get darker than that? And also, what? Like, it makes me wonder how like in touch Melissa De La Cruz is with her like Filipino heritage, because I know she moved here when she was 13. Because like some of the things that it says, it's very much like you can tell that this is like Melissa De La Cruz coming out in her writing. Because anyone who had lived in the Philippines knows that Filipinos get darker than like a nut brown. Like, I'm cashew brown right now, so I'm a nut too. But yeah, it was a weird take. And like, she lives in the valley. She lives in like the LA Valley. There are Filipinos in that area. You have seen darker Filipinos than you. I see dark Filipinos when I go to freaking Sacramento. But I talked about it a bit more, and I guess I missed the memo about how this book is not that great. And apparently it's just an entire glorification of the US bid system for immigration, meaning you have to know how many like rich white people you know, and on top of that, they tell you like they also like Jasmine is created as this perfect immigrant, the one who deserves this kind of citizenship despite her being undocumented, and her family deserves it because they've done nothing wrong and they've always worked super hard. And like, I went on to read reviews because I wasn't sure which of my friends have actually read this, and hoping for some fill-in reviews, and those are even worse. They talk about how quote unquote they were all white. Most of the like the top reviewers or the top reviews or the most recent ones are white reviewers, which I'm like, what the fuck. Basically a lot of them were like, this is a very relevant read, and I'm like, in what context? Because like, you telling me it's relevant is like, yeah, I'm aware, but in what context? And showing us that undocumented means more than just Mexican, and showing us what part of it is relevant aside from the undocumented bit. Another one had said that Filipinos, the book implied that Filipinos come to America to be caretakers or janitors or nurses or maids. And I'm sitting here like, no, we don't. However, those are most of the fields that we go into because they are well paying. And if you are aware of Filipino politics at all, you understand, or even, had the decency to Google it 4 years ago, or even look at your hospitals or your fucking cruises or whatever, you would understand that the top import for the Philippines is not any kind of food, it's not our clothing, it's our people and our labor. Because we travel to different parts of the world to gain enough money to send back home, or to petition our families over for a better life there. So that review, fuck you. Because it was just fucking ignorant. Plain and simple. But I will talk more about it when I get home tonight. I need to get to work. So I'm probably going to end up hate reading the book, because at this point I just need to know what happens and I need more context as to why, and I want to fully have a well-rounded review of this book and my thoughts than just a couple of different takes and a shitty ass reviewer. Alright, just got home. But I thought I'd elaborate right on a bit of my rant this morning, or at least the tail end of it, and then add on to a bit more of the rant, because I read more of the book, because this is where I'm at. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with wanting to be a nurse, a caretaker, a maid, a janitor, whatever. However, I know plenty of Filipinos, and I know plenty of immigrants whose parents graduated fairly good in their classes, they got their degrees, and in their native land would be doing the jobs that they want. They would be doing the jobs that they got their degrees for. But however, when they move to America or other places in the world, their degrees or certifications do not line up with the standards of that country. And they would have to go in and take extra classes to meet those standards. They would have to take classes or undergo more tests to meet those standards and certifications, which is very difficult when you have no money because you just moved your entire family to a different country. So for them to say that they didn't like the implication that this is the only goal or the only job that a lot of Filipino parents work at is incredibly ignorant. Incredibly ignorant. And to boot, it's just ignorant and it's just appalling to me because this book was released in 2016. Like 10 out of 10, if you look around your fucking cruises, your nurses, or like the homes you put your grandparents in or whatever, there's a Filipino. There's a Filipino. But before you spew that shit on the internet and sound like a super intelligent human being, perhaps you should take a look at the difficulties it is to potentially get a job in your field when moving countries, when you don't speak the language or your certifications do not match the needs of said job, or the job market for your job is limited to where you moved, and you need to feed a family and find a job that sustains you. So like, not the takes you should be making as a white reviewer. But on to the book. So I did read some more. I'm now on page 164. I'm hoping to have this finished by the end of the weekend so I can start The Bone Witch or The Farm. I haven't chosen that coin flip just kawaii yet. I think I might do The Farm just to get a little bit of a break from fantasy. But there are a lot of things wrong. And it's not just the fact that she is with the it's not just the takes that were in this book. There are a lot of takes in this book that are just like, what the fuck. But the thing that bugs me the most is that, well, one of the things that bugs me the most, so her crush is a congressman's son who is against the immigration bill that is trying to be passed, which would have undocumented immigrants in America have to only pay a fine to be a citizen. Because, you know, they came here illegally or without the proper documentation, so they should not be here. So instead of like deporting them or greater risks, they'll just have to potentially pay a fine. Potentially. There are still chances of you being thrown in jail or deported, but or less if you are, you know, the perfect immigrant. And her son, that's her crush. So she asks him, because he's white, she asks him, what's your stance on the immigration bill? And he says, oh, I don't follow politics. And then she uses that as like a base to tell her parents that no, he's nothing like his dad. He's a good guy. He's not for this bill. He's a good person. But let me tell you why that is not okay. So the thing is with the concept of I don't follow politics, I think it's a very selfish stance to take. And before y'all who do say this stuff come for me, I used to be in a similar position. I used to think there's no point in me doing politics, or following politics, what can I significantly do to change? And the problem with that is that if you can say those words, you are either one, not at all educated in the plights of the marginalized people in your own community or your own marginalized community itself. Secondly, you are in a place of privilege where the things that are harming others mean nothing to you. And it should. Because the harming of others it's terrible. People should not be having to worry about their status in 2021 as to like whether or not they get basic human rights. And for you who is currently an undocumented immigrant who is struggling to sit there and go, oh no, he's a good person because he does not follow politics, implies that you also do not care what happens to yourself and what happens to others around you, which is the vibe that I'm getting from Jasmine. She seems to be very much focused on her own problems and not necessarily caring about how these other immigrants will be hit with the bill, or why people want to have this bill passed because it means she gets to go to college. I don't know. It's just not the stance that I'm here for. Like, personal experience, I would probably never date someone who says I don't follow politics. Great for you. That just means you don't care about the pain and suffering of others. You are in a place of privilege where you don't care about the change, because the change will never, or the things that are changing will never be against you. I also talked about it a little bit more with my friend who has not read the book. I sent her some clips about how, like, or a page about her meeting this maid that the Royces, the crush, has, and she's Filipino. And she, like, has a moment of panic being like, if I never go to college, will I be just like her? Like, how sad of a life is that? Before she stops and goes, I don't have a right to judge. Glad she caught that. However, the fuck? I don't know, it just feels like my friend mentioned this, that she is trying really hard to be white. This character is trying really hard to be white, and she feels almost ashamed of being Filipino because she does not connect with anything Filipinoness, which makes no sense to me because she literally migrated with her parents to the Philippines. She was like 6 or 7, and I migrated here when I was like 6. I turned 7 the first couple months that we were here first, in 2003. So for her to be like, oh yeah, I'm that not in touch. I'm like, I'm not super in touch with my Filipino heritage, but I'm in touch enough to understand the cultural significance. And again, she also lives in like the valley. She lives in LA-ish, like the LA area. So for her to have never seen an actual Filipino household, or for her parents to not follow Filipino ideals that they were raised with, just seems a little muddy to me, and I don't understand it. Like, I literally have friends who are Filipino who were born and raised here in America, and they're more Filipino than I am. So like, the logic doesn't make sense to me. But also, the more I thought about it, the more she just felt white. Like, if you took away the fact that she's Filipino, you took away the fact that her last name is De Los Santos, you took away whatever, and you just made her a white undocumented immigrant from, like, I don't know, Italy or something, France, somewhere, and gave her a white name, nothing in the content of this book changes. It's exactly the same. All you will have less of is her mentioning how Filipino she is and how unlike Filipinos she is. And it feels like that this was made for diversity points. Like, if you just had her named like Jasmine Smith or something, I don't know, she'd read exactly the same. She reads like a privileged white, like, she's not privileged. She mentions how her parents don't have money, but she reads like a white girl. And it feels like she was just written as Filipino to include diversity points. And I was super excited for this book because it was like one of those things where we would get a different perspective of what undocumented means that doesn't look like Mexican, you know? Because I feel like when you think undocumented, you think crossing the border. You don't think jumping on a plane or on a boat or whatever. So I thought it was going to be an interesting perspective to see what undocumented would look like in a Filipino household where they, in a sense, are kind of documented because for them to get here, they needed a visa, the work visa. But she reads like a white girl, and there was no point in making her Filipino. So it was just like, what? Like, I would DNF this. I want to DNF this. However, with the amount of like looking through their stuff on, like, the reviews on Goodreads, the majority of these reviewers, just the first page alone on Goodreads, there's no own voices views, which I think is very harmful. Because in situations like this, where you're reading about a girl who's undocumented, people who are looking for something similar are gonna want that. People who are looking for some Filipino rep are gonna want that, and they're just not gonna get it with this. They're gonna get something that feels really not them. Like, for as much as she mentioned she's Filipino, she doesn't feel Filipino. So it's just like, I'm gonna review it, and I'm gonna read this book, these last like couple hundred pages of this. I have like I have more than halfway through, but these like couple hundred pages of this book just to review it, and I guess like offer an actual own voices Filipino American take. And then I also got Mari, a friend of mine on Twitter, said that this book basically just kind of glorifies the U.S. immigration bid system, where if you have if you know a lot of rich white old people, there's a higher chance you're going to become an immigrant faster. And I also have to agree with that, and also the fact that Jasmine and her family are pretty much set up to be what a lot of America wants to see as the perfect immigrant, which is like very much feeding to that model minority myth. So it's just a double whammy of like, what is this? But I will have more thoughts when I read more tonight, probably before bed. But yeah, I'll catch up with you guys in a little bit. I have to edit my video, which is my Who Was Better book mal versus show mal, and I'll get back to you. Hey friends, it's Sunday. Wrapping up the vlog, I did end up doing some reading. As you guys can tell, I was at a coffee shop Saturday morning, and then my sister ended up dyeing and giving my hair a nice little trim, which like in retrospect, I like the color that I picked. It's supposed to be like a dark mahogany red, which like if I'm backlit, you can see it, but not, I just look like I have like my natural hair color, which like in retrospect, hopefully it fades before like the summer actually hits, because this will be the first time in years since like high school that I've had naturally dark hair, like I've had dark hair for the summer. And that never really works out in my favor. It gets really too hot up on this side of the head. What are you doing? Hey! No! No! You know the rules. The bookshelf is off limits. Bookshelf is off limits. But I did end up, while she was like dyeing my hair, and now it has proof, which is gonna suck when I try to sell it, but I did end up finishing something in between. I ended up giving it a 2 out of 5 stars. I agree that it is relevant in some sense. I think the concept of undocumented immigrants is very outdated and doesn't really fit with what America tries to preach. I also think that it is very difficult for parents who have brought kids over for the kids to see themselves as anything but American. You know, this is where they've been their whole lives, this is how life works for them, and it's just how things work. And it's difficult for them to really grasp the concept of them not living in the only place they know and the only place that they fit in. So I do agree with that. However, there are a lot of other things that I disagree with, which is what caused me to drop this down as much as I did. I was hoping it'd be a 3 stars for me, but it's really just a really low 2, almost 1 star. Some of the things that I didn't like were that this is supposed to be a book about immigration and that loss and that sudden those jarring emotions that happen when you find out that you are not who you thought you were. And it was overshadowed by the romance. A lot of it was romance heavy, and I feel like you could have just taken out a lot of it. I also think that there were some takes here that aren't culturally accurate, like the one where it was like, oh yeah, well, the Philippines is a third world country, so therefore they must not care that much about your weight. And that's just very incorrect. If you are even slightly Filipino, you know, like, and to boot, some of the other things that she had mentioned were also just like, I don't know, it's just one of those things where it's like, you migrated here with your parents, you remember migrating here. So that means you grew up in the Philippines a little bit and you kind of understand some of the things that are happening. What else? There was a lot of shame that Jasmine had internalized about being Filipino. It took me a hot minute to realize it, but my friend Ethel, who I sent like snippets to, had actually, I was talking to her about it, and she's like, it sounds like she's ashamed. And it is brought up toward the end of the book, but it's never really wrapped up. It's just kind of like, oh yeah, I feel bad because I feel kind of ashamed for being Filipino, but I know I don't have a reason to, and that was kind of it. I also understand that this book is mirroring very closely to Melissa De La Cruz's own problems with her getting citizenship and her green card. And she did end up having the help of a congressman, because they were a friend of a friend, to help her through this process. So she wrote about it, which is very, like, you know, this is what you do as a writer. You write about your own experiences and your own emotions. But I think it's just a very privileged thing to write about. You know, a lot of undocumented immigrants have to go through the process and wait years before they even can hear a deportation trial or have a hearing or anything. And in that time, if they are documented as undocumented, there is a high chance, a very high chance, of ICE coming in and deporting them, of getting deported, because they are on the radar. And I think it's a very privileged thing to write about, and for reviewers to be like, this is very relevant, when only a small aspect of this book is relevant to undocumented immigrants in America, is not only privileged, but also widely inappropriate. There's a low chance that an undocumented immigrant is just going to happen to fall for a congressman's son and happen to be part of a private bill that allows them to get citizenship. It's very small and almost non-existent with those chances. And for her to write about it is, I think, irresponsible. It's very irresponsible because all it does is just showcase this side of immigration and glorify it, because she got this external help that isn't available to everyone. That'll probably never be available to everyone. Like, if I were to go for a love story with an undocumented immigrant that's going to get deported, I'd rather go with The Son of a Star. The Son is also a star, because that also discusses these topics in a much more appropriate light, while also having a romance. I also think that I'm going to have a full-fledged video review of this, so I don't know why I'm discussing this in full detail. I think I just need to rant. I also think that if you just took away the fact that Jasmine is Filipino and made her white, nothing about this book changes. Nothing. There's no relevance, because all of her shame will just go away and she'll just be an undocumented immigrant trying to do what she can for her family. She has no pride in being Filipino, and I'd rather get rid of that shame, because it's just fucked up to have a character be ashamed of their background but then never really address it and then brush it off at the end. Yeah, this was just a really disappointing read. I don't think, like, I'm really kind of sad, because my sister has read Blue Bloods by Melissa De La Cruz. We've both read Descendants by her, and then I had a friend of a friend also read, which is of East End, and they said that she's a really good writer, and I don't disagree with that. She's really good, but I don't think this was a story she should have written as the only story that she has out regarding a BIPOC character. Like, I'd rather her write about a BIPOC character in a fantastical setting, rather than her trying to write about her own experiences, which are very rare and kind of highlight this weird glorification of the U.S. bid system, and then this glorification of what a perfect immigrant should look like Jasmine. Like, their entire deportation trial hinged on the fact that Jasmine is this perfect immigrant. She gets good grades, she's a cheerleader, a national scholarship, she has a great ring of friends, she's never done anything wrong in her life. Her only crime is just being here without the proper paperwork, which I'm like, okay, that's great, but not every undocumented immigrant has the same opportunities as you do. So you are set up to be this perfect immigrant, which makes no sense, and shows and kind of highlights this weird idea that there is only one kind of immigrant that is deserving of this scenario. So I'm going to unhaul this book. I am going to write a review on it. I think that review might be up not this coming week, but next week, because this week I really need to decorate my room, and I said I was going to film that, so you guys are coming along for the ride. But that is it for this vlog. I had a good book, which is Arsenic and Adobo, and then a bad book, which is something in between. So yeah, that's about it. If you guys have any video ideas you want me to do, let me know in the comments. Until then, hit like, subscribe, comment, and I'll see you guys in my next video and my last vlog of the month. Until next time, bye!